we have been recording for 2 minutes now.
I know. It's funny. Anyway, hi, I'm the Fine.
And I'm the water.
That's you.
Good. Yes, I am the water.
I know.
And we are recording, you are listening to a cup of tea.
I was waiting for you to say that.
I kind of I feel like in my mind I said it. But it didn't come out, you know? Like I've heard it so many times now.
Yeah.
I'm
A podcast about exploring life through each other's eyes.
Well, sharing a cup of tea with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do. I feel like these keep getting funnier and funnier. Maybe it's just me. But
maybe they like it.
That I've liked.
Do you like it? Because I like it.
Let us know in the comments.
So, I am very happy about what I'm drinking today.
All right, you're doing your blueberry
Starbucks
ripoff.
Yeah, basically. So Starbucks is doing this like strawberry matcha thing that I really like. Mm-hmm. But then I did it with strawberries and it was nice. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, oh, but I have blueberries also. And I did it with blueberries. And this very weird thing happened that I was telling you about where like the matcha tasted super blueberry and it was delicious. But then I would eat the actual blueberry and it tasted like nothing. And that was really weird.
Oh, right. And so now you're blending.
So now I blended the blueberries with the coconut milk. And I put the matcha in there with like ice and I put it in the freezer and stuff. And it's really good. I'm very proud of my invention right here. How about you?
I'm making coffee that you made, quote unquote.
I brewed the coffee, yes.
Yes. And then I put cocoa powder and sugar and coconut milk. And you know, the thing is, so we did this last week when we were recording Pockets with the Bicha. Your niece, for anybody that doesn't know who the Bicha is.
Also known as La Muchacha.
Yes. And I think we were falling asleep or something. So we decided that we needed coffee. Yeah. And I wanted, since we were not going to go to Starbucks. And the worst part is that I was thinking about it. I was on the train coming here and I was like, should I go to Starbucks? Should we get coffee? But I didn't get off the train. No. And then I get here and she's like, I'm falling asleep. Maybe we should drink coffee. So then we ended up making it. And I put, cocoa powder, sugar. And then when I actually blended it, it tasted like those chocolates that come with, not with coconut pieces, but I don't know. It was like, it tasted like solid chocolate with coconut, which I didn't hate. That was nice.
So, I understand that you have something of an anecdote to share.
I feel like the coffee was more of an anecdote than
the odyssey of the PVC.
Yes, I just thought it'd be entertaining. Because, so on the first season of Pockets, we made, like, over time, we improved the set, I feel like. Yeah. And first we started with this purple fabric that we hung from the ceiling via duct tape. And that surprisingly survived a couple episodes. And then we assembled this PVC structure so that we could hang it like a curtain and it looked nicer. But in coming here, we have the purple. But I'm getting distracted.
Sorry.
by the pine doing something with our microphone. So upon coming here, I brought I didn't bring it, but I shipped it. The purple.
It came all the way from Mexico.
Yes. I mean, the thing is, I think it's 6 meters of fabric sewn together, and made it into a curtain. I was not going to do that here. I don't have a sewing machine here. And it was too much time and hassle it was better just to ship it.
Apparently so.
Or buy 5 curtains at Simon's or something.
Oh, that would have been expensive.
Yes. So anyway, I brought the purple, and we started hanging it when we began recording the season 2 of Pockets. Yes. But it looks wonky.
She's not a fan.
No. because there's these, like drywall, like things to hang stuff. So you don't nail them to the wall, but you just like stick them and they stay there because paper walls. And we have been kind of hanging the fabric from those, but it looks horrible. Like they're not evenly distributed along the wall. So there's ones that are like a meter apart, and then others that are just like 30 centimeters away from each other. So it looks very weird. And so yesterday, like we had been for this has been happening for like a month, that we've been thinking, oh, we're gonna go to Home Depot because we need to get the PVC pipes and to assemble the thing, but I don't have a car. Only the Pine has a car. So it would have required us to plan it and do stuff. So yesterday, finally,
by mere show of destiny, because I wasn't gonna, like, I fell asleep and I was running late for work, and the only way I was gonna make it was if I actually drove instead of took the train. So I took, and I didn't even know that she was gonna come to work. So I was late. I was running late. So I decided to take the car, which was going to take me 30 minutes instead of an hour. Took the car, went there, and then she texts me like, oh, so what time is your lunch so I can come over? I was like, what? Okay, well, like this time's my lunch. So she comes over.
Whoa. Oh, okay. There's a caveat though. I mean, I don't know if a caveat, but the reason I went, and the reason I texted the night before was that she has some books that we took from the library at my school, and they need to be returned today. Did she bring them yesterday? No, she didn't.
I didn't know you were coming to Simon's yesterday to work.
Yeah.
Because when you asked me about the books and you said something about coming over, I actually wrote and then I deleted it because I was like, I guess, I don't know, what? You said something about coming over for the books or something about the books, and I was like, and this was on a Sunday that you texted me because we were thinking of going out with the beach or not. So you said something about the books and about coming over. And I was like, do you mean like coming over like today? I thought we said we weren't doing anything. What? But then I didn't write anything because I was like, no, yeah. In the girls group chat thing, we said that we weren't doing something today. So I don't think she means today. So I just let it slide. So I had no idea when you were talking about coming over and getting the books.
Yeah, well, anyway. So, she went there with the car. I went there to pick the books up. There were no books. But there was a car. And very serendipitously, I don't know, at one point, I think we were at Starbucks, and we were like, well, we could go to Home Depot and we could get the thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. So, then, because, by the way, it has been a joke. It has become a running thing that sometimes I wait because if you have the car and she's gonna bring me back home, and my dad likes to buy stuff from Home Depot, like a lot of stuff. So I go wander the halls at Home Depot. Yeah. Well, the aisles rather, I guess, not the halls. I don't know. Anyway, so that's what I did. I went to Home Depot. Well, you gave me the keys to the car, and I went to Home Depot, and I thought, so, also deserves an explanation. Simon's, aka your work, has a parking place that is like off to the side, up some stairs to the, like there's a, I don't know, employee parking lot, I guess, right? So I thought, maybe it would be a good idea to take the car to Home Depot so
load
that
it
it's
there.
closer. Yeah, load it there, move it back.
But did she?
But then I was like, nah, it's fine.
She did not.
I can do it. So I was on my merry way to Home Depot. Like, you have to cross the street, walk 100 meters,
Maybe.
I feel like. Enter the store, and so I was there. I called my dad because before that we wanted to confirm, which obviously, if it was cheaper to buy the PVC stuff here rather than ship it from Mexico, which spoiler alert, it was a lot cheaper
To buy it here than to ship it from Mexico. Okay.
So I was like, I remember I was on the phone with my dad telling him, okay, so we need probably like 3 pipes. They're 3 meters, and we need the elbow thingies and the T thingies to put them together and glue and la la la. And he's like, oh yeah, sure, okay.
I like that your dad is like our
consultant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So I calculated. Okay, so it's gonna be like $50 or something. Then I went back and I told you about it. And then I went back to Home Depot and I got a cart and I started putting the stuff there. It was so hard to maneuver inside the store because I had a regular cart and I put the tubes like, I laid them like from the beginning of the cart to the handle. And I felt like I was gonna bump people and stuff, but I survived. So they were falling off. It was just 4, but they kept like sliding off the corners of the cart. So anyway, I went to pay and everything was fine. And then I exited the store and I was like, fuck, I should have brought the cart. Because I started going, and you know how those like supermarket carts rattle so much when you're like walking down the pavement with them. But then I was like, no, I got this. I can do this. I can do this. Maybe I could ask somebody for help. No, I got this.
Yeah.
And there's this part of me that's like, no, I should just ask for help. Why am I always like this? Why am I like that? I'm horrible. But then I thought, no, whatever. No. I'll just do it. Fuck it. And then, so I was like, I went crossing the street with the giant ass tubes. Like, walked by Simon's. I saw it. I crossed the street. I went into the parking lot, and I got there, and I was like, oh, fuck.
You have to go
The
up.
stairs. Yes.
I hadn't thought about that.
So, and the thing is, I saw that somebody else had left a Home Depot cart there. So I was like, okay, I'm not the only lunatic that parked here to go to Home Depot on the other side of the plaza. So it's not just me. And so I take the tubes out of the cart. I lay them like on the staircase. And I also, at the register, at the cashier, the lady was like, would you like a bag? I said, no.
What kind of bag would she have given you?
Like just a paper bag to put all the like small
the little
plastic
ones.
things. Yeah. I was like, no, I'm fine. I don't need a bag. I don't need a freaking bag. So then I thought, okay, I'm gonna put this here. I'll take all the tubes and the PVC. I don't know what they're
The joints?
named. Yes, let's call them the joints. In my fingers, so I look like a PVC Edward Scissorhands, kind of person.
That's really funny.
And I grabbed everything and I went upstairs. I opened the trunk of the car. No. Well, that was my brain. Like, I'll go upstairs, open the trunk, get this inside, come back, get the tubes, put them in. But then my Mexican paranoid brain was like, what if somebody steals them?
The tubes.
Yeah. Which, like, no, we're in Canada. Nobody steals anything. You could leave something in the wherever and it'll be there for the next 5 years. But here I go back. I was like in the middle of the stairs and I grabbed the tubes. Like I was like pulling them up and then putting them across the railway.
Yeah.
So that I could grab them with one arm and have the rest of the stuff on my hand. Thankfully, you don't need to press buttons to open the trunk of the car. So I got to the car, lay the tubes on the floor, open the trunk, put the shit inside an IKEA bag that you had there. And then I put the tubes inside. Then that was easy. Then I just opened the back seat, laid the back seat down, and I was like, done. And I was sweating by the end of it. I was like, what is this? Why do I do these things to myself?
I'm glad you didn't tell me then, because this was fun. I appreciate it.
I figured. So there you go. That was the odyssey with the PVC tubes yesterday.
I see. Very well.
My dad also laughed.
Did you tell him
Yeah.
the whole thing?
Yeah.
That's nice.
He was like, yeah, you should have moved the car.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But then we wouldn't have this funny story.
Exactly. As we would say in Mexico, por la anécdota.
Yes.
So,
I guess.
now, to today's topic at hand, which I'm not sure how to present it. I don't even know that I know that I remember how we actually. So like the thing is that we've been watching. Well, I started watching. Okay. I'm trying to like I think of a starting point and then I'm like, well, no, this happened because of this. So then my brain is like, oh, so then this is the starting point. And then I'm like, I'm gonna say this one. And it's like, okay, so this, and then I was like, oh no, wait, but this happened because of this other thing. And it's that I started watching Friends as a background series. And then Pablo would watch it with me whenever he was with me, like for breakfast and stuff. So now I'm not watching it for background stuff when I'm by myself. So I needed a new background noise series. And I started watching Sex and the City. And somehow I told you about that and things have been happening and we've been talking about it.
Yeah.
And we figured we would talk about that.
Yes.
If that makes sense at all.
I mean, the thing that became funny when you said it was that you were watching it, and apparently Pablo said that was your porn or something.
Yes, that did happen. Well, the funny thing is that, hear me out. Okay, so the funny thing is that the timing, Pablo's timing, or the series, like, I don't know what it is, but right. Like, I would be watching the series at home, eating, having breakfast or dinner or whatever, and then Pablo would come back from school, and like, the moment he entered the house, there was a sex scene. So he would look at me like, I see you watching porn when I'm not here. That was the funny part. That's what yeah. So he said that it was me, that I was watching porn.
The funniest thing is indeed the timing, because I guess if you have seen Sex and the City, it's not that porny. Yeah, no.
It's a little porny if you think about it.
It is like, okay, so just now with that you were before we started recording, we were watching it while having lunch, and then you went to do something else, and I was watching that scene where Samantha is looking for an apartment, and at the end they're caught by the real estate agent. But I feel like that was the only sex scene, like quote unquote sex, because I guess they are having sex, but you don't really see them. You just see her boobs.
But like there's a lot of sex scenes.
Yeah. Yes.
And they're very they're not discreet.
No. I think that's part of what made the show very attractive when it came out. Very appealing. I don't know. In the same way that Game of Thrones was. I mean, I guess that is the whole thing that HBO has. That
about sex?
Yeah. That there's all these shows where you see people having sex and you actually see them.
Yeah.
And so I think because even though, yeah, I would say there is a lot of sex, but it's not what I said when you told me was, but what about Bridgerton?
Yeah, she said that because the thing that we were saying is that Bridgerton feels a lot more porny than Sex and the City. Because Sex and the City is not quite that romantic at all. So, like, for me, I feel like even though Sex and the City is very porny, if Pablo told me, like, oh, you're watching porn, that would be more Bridgerton. Even though it might be not as explicit as Sex and the City, but it has more of that, like, sexual pleasing.
Exactly. And that was...
I find it very funny when Pablo is behind the scenes in this episode.
I know. It is really funny.
Talking about sex.
Yeah.
Yes.
My goodness.
Yeah, because the same thing, like one time when Bridgerton came out, I was watching it without knowing what it was. And I think it was, I don't know, whatever first episode they have sex. My brother came into my room at that exact moment. He's like, "You're watching porn?" And I was like, what can I tell you? I mean, no, I didn't know.
I mean, not quite, but kind of.
I didn't know that I was.
Like, not really, but it's working.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole thing too.
What
I
is-
feel like I don't know. I feel like we kind of tried to do an episode about this. I don't know if we actually did. My memory is not great because we record so many things and we edit so many things. But there was this one day that we were talking about porn and stuff, and like the types of porn, or maybe not the types. Do you not remember this conversation?
Unless you're talking about the very first pilot for A Cup of Tea that has never been released.
No. It was one day that we didn't. No. This was a conversation we had in the
Here.
kitchen. Yes.
Here.
Yes, here.
Porn?
And yes.
What were we saying about porn?
I don't know how it started, but it came to a point where I said something about we were talking about Soup.
Uh-huh.
No, like Soup the website.
Oh, yes. I remember Soup.
Yeah, that was a thing that I guess kind of was like Tumblr ages ago when we were in high school. And you introduced me to it, and they had a not safe for work section. I don't know how we discovered that or what happened there.
I miss
But the
Soup.
point is that it had, like, you could find, obviously, porn, like Tumblr, in the not safe for work section. But there was pretty porn there. Like,
Oh, I think we did talk about this in an episode where we talk about that woman you were telling me about, the film's porn.
oh, yeah.
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 That's when we talked about this.
But anyway, that was not my point with mentioning all of this. It was more of saying how, when there's shows like Game of Thrones and you have explicit scenes of women walking around naked or even men walking around naked sometimes or them having sex. I feel like it's completely different than watching shows like Bridgerton or I mean, I guess even Sex and the City to a point. But what you were saying just now about Bridgerton being like more porn adjacent.
Sexually pleasing?
Yes, exactly.
It is.
I find that so interesting. And it makes a lot of sense to me. Like, I don't know how a guy feels about watching Bridgerton, for example.
I'm very
I don't know
intrigued.
if it does something for them.
I see an experiment coming. But, okay, so...
That was not the point of bringing Sex and the City into the thing. I feel like it was talking about how it was kind of like I think we got to a point where we're saying the other day Jennifer Aniston was talking about how younger people, I guess, that are watching Friends now are finding it offensive.
Yeah, and inappropriate.
And yes.
Yeah.
And kind of along the same line, if you watch Sex and the City now, I guess there's also stuff that we're like, ugh, they're so, what an asshole. That is so annoying. Like,
Well,
there's parts of me that in the first season that I just finished watching, I hate Miranda.
You
like,
do?
Yeah, she's so annoying. She's such an asshole. Like that whole thing with
Sometimes,
Skipper.
yeah.
She's such an
She
asshole.
was very...
And then
mean to Skipper.
even I mean, I haven't gone back to the second season yet. But even when she meets Steven, she's like,
Steve?
see, I mean, yeah, like even when she meets Steve, she's very,
Oh, Steve. Oh, Steve.
I don't know.
He's so nice. We like Steve.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so like I found it very interesting when you told me that it was a man director or a what?
Yeah, so I haven't checked the credits for all the episodes, and I know that it's based on a book written by a woman, but the series was created by a guy, and the credits on the first few episodes are all men, like directed by a guy, written by a guy, edited by a guy.
Do you feel? And I was thinking of this question before, and I decided not to tell you until now, in the hopes that I would remember, and I did. Do you feel like it's very male gazy or not really?
I do.
You
Yeah, that's the thing.
do. Okay, how's
I
that?
was like, even though the book was written by a woman, there's all these things.
I'm intrigued
okay,
about the book now.
I mean, so I was just watching that episode when I was falling asleep where
She was.
Carrie is panicking because she's not having sex with Big anymore
Yeah.
because she farted at the beginning of the episode.
Yes.
And I was like, seriously? What year is this?
Well,
What are you talking?
See, that's also the
which,
thing.
I know. It was in the 90s. It was early 90s, early 2000s. The last millennium.
Like, were
Last
relationships really
century.
like that? And I think they were, because I think like a little bit of that was still present when we were younger and getting into the dating scene. But a lot of the Big and Carrie relationship, like there's so much of it that I see now that I'm just like, I understand that you're trying to make an entertaining, dramatic series, but it's so stupid. The things that they fight about and how they don't actually listen to what the other one is saying. Because, okay, hear me out. A bit of a hot take maybe. But remembering the movie, I remember like when I would watch it like in later I don't remember what I thought of it when the first time I watched it, but like in later years I would watch it and I would be like, because this whole thing of like getting married and whatever, and Big is like, but we're so cool, like what's the why do you need to be married? And Carrie's like, no, I don't need it, but like oh, getting married.
Yeah.
And then they decide to get married like at adults or whatever, and Carrie's like, oh yeah, we're getting married like adults, I don't need the big proposal or whatever.
Yeah.
And like keep going forward, whatever. And Carrie gets lost in the whole wedding thing.
Yeah.
Right? And Big, being Big, is having like maybe not second thoughts, but hesitations. And he's like, I thought our wedding was going to be like a small thing, or just us going to City Hall or whatever.
Yeah.
And now we have like the library and the 200 guests or whatever, and the dress and a bunch of stuff now. So when it's the day and Big, the night before, calls her, and she picks up and he's freaking out a little bit, and she's like, it's you and me, baby. It's you and me. And he's like, all right, it's you and me. So then the next day, Big being Big, hesitations, whatever, he tries to call her.
Yes.
And she's doing all of these things, and she doesn't have her phone, and the little Charlotte's kid has her phone. And Big is just like, I just need you to call me back, just, you know?
Yeah.
And then he sees her coming out of the car, and he's like, just look at me, baby, just look at me. And she doesn't look. And I don't understand the dramaticism about it.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't quite... I guess, like, my hot take thing that I was saying is that I'm not quite upset at Big about it.
Yeah.
I also don't blame Carrie, because it's also like, you guys have been through so much. Like, how many years in the making has this relationship been going on, right? Like, we know both of you. You know each other. Like, Big should be big enough to do it, and to want to marry Carrie.
Yeah.
Right? He shouldn't need, like, call me back because I'm freaking out and whatever. But also, I understand that he's freaking out, and he just wants to be reassured by Carrie, and Carrie is very lost in the wedding thing. And not really listening to Big at this point. So that was a lot of like how I would see the first movie, like kind of like I feel for Big because he just wanted some support and Carrie didn't give him that. Now that I'm rewatching the whole series, it's a little like I'm not forgetting that about the movie, but I'm also like rewatching Big, and it's like, fucking Big. Because this whole commitment thing with him that I had forgotten when I watched the movie. Because like it had been years since I watched the series, and I just would watch the movie.
Yeah.
So I had forgotten like all of the struggles of the relationship, and how like now that we're rewatching it, it's like, oh, Big was dating other women until Carrie was like, I just want to be with you. And then he was like, okay, fine, we'll be just you and me.
Yeah.
Right? And it's this very, I find it very interesting, the whole, like, Carrie just feels like she's there. She knows that Big is the person that she wants. And it seems like it takes Big forever to be there. And, like, I feel like I relate a little bit to that. In the, like, being in separate places in the relationship, because that's kind of how it happened with us at first. But here's what I would like. I would like for, like, the silly, dramatic things in Sex and the City or in other series that right now I look and I'm like, that's just bad communication. That's just, you're not listening to your partner. That's just things that I can see now that are kind of silly and that quote unquote fixable.
Yeah.
I want a series that shows me that shows me, like, it's still dramatic and whatever, but it's not silly. It's like, show me that the couple actually has drama about bigger stuff, about more important stuff, and not just like, oh, I farted and now we can't have sex. You know, like, because it feels outdated. I'm not saying that back then or even now it's not a thing, but it feels outdated. And I understand that we're watching it in 2023 and this was in the 90s, right? So it's actually outdated. But I feel like, although Working Moms was a little bit maybe that I'm saying that I want. I really like, and I don't know if it's because of the female gaze of it, or it's just a more modern, less, like, more real, maybe?
I guess so. I feel like there's a bunch of elements.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
I know what you're saying. I do think it makes sense. I think it's funny that it's a thing that I've thought about, not just in terms of storytelling and I can hear Sophia snoring. Not just in terms of storytelling and the movies and the shows that we see now, or even books. Right? Because I remember reading a book recently that I was like, oh my god, just freaking say what you want to say already.
What book?
Some stupid Amazon, like, Audible recommendation that was really meh. I don't even remember the name, but it was very annoying to listen to it. And I did finish it just because it was very short, and I was like, eh. And I've also noticed it in general in life. It's like, it's a thing that I see in people that are very bad at talking to each other, and they have problems that could have been solved if you had just said exactly what you meant, kind of thing. And so I feel like I feel very politics right now, but I kind of want to break it down and start with the whole thing with the fart scene, because on the one hand, it does feel outdated, but I will also say I can see it happening still.
Yeah.
You know, that is still relevant, which I guess is part of how much of what Sex and the City has is still relevant today. There's still that same hookup culture that they have in the show, the same non-committal, non-monogamy thing. I don't know. I guess it's I was gonna say the eternal quest between being single and wanting to have a partner, like the different versions of it, like the Carrie version or the Charlotte version, or the Samantha and Miranda versions. So I think that also still stands. But yeah, it's like the small petty things.
Yeah, I want to see characters that have, like, responsabilidad afectiva.
Yeah, I know. But the thing is, I think they also reflect, they don't have it in the show because people don't have it in general either.
But what if you saw it?
I guess it would be a good thing. But okay, so here's what maybe it would be a good experiment to do. How does that look? How do you have a couple that has good communication and good Responsabilidad efectiva.
I don't know how to say it in
I don't
English.
either. We need our Pablo producer behind the scenes to tell us how to say it, but he's not paying attention.
I guess it's like emotional
Accountability, emotional accountability.
Okay, there. That. I think of it a little bit like, if I imagine it, it's like Marriage Story, but if it had worked out, like that fight scene, that like argument stuff,
Yeah.
like that sincere moment, but instead of like fighting or like, well, okay, so here's the thing. In my relationship, we're very calm people. So we're not explosive at all. And like, because of our different sort of like, I don't know, defense mechanisms, like I'll go into my own stuff. Like I won't share. I need time to process things.
We know.
That's not just in my romantic relationship. Like that's how I am with people around me.
Yes.
So the fight, the yelling, like that's not quite our thing. That's not quite my thing. So I don't know how that would look. But if it would be like something that I would relate to, it would be like seeing the difficulty of like taking the high road or not saying what you mean, or like how difficult it is sometimes to be vulnerable, like show how difficult it is, the hesitation between like, ooh, I could be honest and open up right now and tell you that this is actually about an insecurity and not just about whatever superficial thing we're talking about, right? So like it's not about, it's, so she farts, and instead of, because they laugh about it, Big laughs at the fart. Big is not like, oh my God, I can't believe you farted in my bed. Like, how could you? That's gross. Right? That's not Big.
Yeah.
Big just laughs at it. But Carrie is
Being
ashamed as she can be. So, but like then, instead of her going down this road of like, we don't have sex because I farted and he doesn't see me as sexy anymore because I'm one of the guys and stuff, I would like to see that she's actually insecure now because of that. I do like that they do talk about this at some point in the episode where they're like, I think it's Samantha probably, saying something like, oh, because we're not human. As a woman, you're not human. You don't fart, you don't go to the bathroom, you're just this perfect little thing. So I would like to see in the scene, in the episode, that it's more about the insecurity and also maybe some empowerment of like, no, you know what? Like, I know the culture has told you, man, that I'm a perfect little thing, but I'm not. I'm actually human, and I fart and I do these things and I go to the bathroom just like you. But yeah, make it more about like what's going on inside of Carrie. Like for her to understand that maybe they're not having sex because she doesn't feel like she can have sex, because she feels ashamed because she farted, because she's supposed to be this perfect thing, right? In Big's mind, none of this is probably going on.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, a lot of their miscommunications is because Carrie has this mumbled thing in her head. And Big is oblivious to it. And Big is like, what is going on? And then Carrie has to tell him what's going on.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, I see it more of a... That's what I would want to see. Like, the hesitation of being vulnerable, the difficulty that it is to actually work on yourself and work on your relationship.
I think, okay. I find it very interesting.
This is giving me a lot of red stuff.
Because on the one hand, I see what you mean. I know what you mean. And I think there are some newer shows that are more like that, because I guess
I need to
also it's a cultural thing.
Like, this is people, if anyone responds to me with this, I'd be like, yeah, I totally get it. They're going to be like, just watch new stuff. Stop watching things from the 90s. That's the problem you're having. And I'm like, oh, I see that.
Yes, because I can see. So, okay, there's both thing. So I can see that happening with, and I know that this is something that we've talked about before, doing an episode on just Fleabag, but I feel like to a point that happens in Fleabag. Not that she's
so good.
Not that she's telling you that she's having problems being vulnerable,
But you see it.
but you see it.
Yes.
But you see it. You see it in the fourth wall breaking thing. You see it in how she talks to people.
In her behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I love it. I love it. But then on the other hand, you also have, for example, you haven't watched Conversations with Friends, have you?
No.
No. But there's more normal people. Where it's the same thing. It's two very fucked up people that don't talk to each other. They don't tell each other what they actually want to say. So it's like, oh, why? Why are you being like this?
Yeah.
And I think that is the appealing thing. That kind of drives you crazy, but it's like, oh my God, just come, just do it. Just get over it. And I feel like,
But if
it's
they
that
don't,
eternal struggle. Yeah, but okay, so I'm gonna, I don't know if this is something that I told you or I've just thought about it. Because I think that this level of, yeah, this level of emotional accountability and self-awareness and introspection, I think, is very rare. So not everybody walks around life being aware of how they feel and why they feel the way they do. You know, like in that same way that we start pockets with how are you feeling? And that kind of thing. So it is very rare, which is why in turn I think it is very rare to see it in media.
But maybe so then more important to
guess,
see it.
Yeah. But my response to why do we not see it is I think that's the thing. Because one, not everybody has it, and two, I think it's also not just, it is hard and it is painful to realize that maybe you are not great at this or that, or that you need to, like my dad has this thing of saying that when you get angry, you have two jobs. You have to get angry and then get de-angry. So you have to be sort of accountable for that. Like, it's not that somebody's making you angry, it's that you're choosing to be angry. So then you can't pin it on somebody else.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Emotional accountability, people.
So that's why I think that happens. And then maybe more so now than 20 years ago or 30 years ago, with shows, like Sex and the City and Friends and all of that. And so I do wonder, what does that look like? I think, Working Moms could be a good example of it. Marriage Story too. I feel like Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig, who are the Marriage Story. Noah Baumbach wrote Marriage Story. Greta Gerwig did Little Women, and they're married, and they do great things together. And they're pretty cool. So there's this whole, I think it's even a subgenre of drama and dramedy, called mumblecore, where it's that thing of how people talk in Marriage Story or in the, oh my God, what's the name? There's this movie that Noah Baumbach did with Adam Sandler, the Meyerowitz stories, I feel like, where it's like this family that comes together and you have all of them talking like normal people talk, quote unquote. Yeah, it's very much like Marriage Story. And the thing about the style is that it's very subtle. It's very, well, it can also be very loud and very much like that fight scene in Marriage Story. But the thing is sort of like a study on how people actually communicate. And in the way that they're not actually saying what they mean. They say things halfway, or they do innuendo, or like, And that I find very interesting. Because it's more of a reflection on how people actually are. And how they engage with one another, and I don't know, I just find that very interesting. So maybe that is a way to approach it, because I do, if you completely make two people that are perfectly emotionally accountable and have no problems, then there's no conflict and there's no story. And that's boring. Like, why would you want to just watch two people that are perfectly happy all the time?
Which is what I feel happened with Aiden and Carrie.
I mean, I haven't gotten to that part of the show yet.
But you remember.
Mm,
Like, you've seen it, or
partially.
have you not seen it?
I mean, I've seen all of it, but I don't remember.
Well,
Most of
basically,
it.
see, that's the thing. Like, we see Carrie and Big fighting and
Yeah.
getting on and off and on and off and whatever, and then here comes Aiden, and he's the perfect boyfriend, and he does nothing wrong, and his biggest issue is that Carrie smokes. And other than that, like, whatever Carrie is looking for, everything that she wanted Big to be, Aiden is. But yeah, like, this time that I watched it, it's just that I feel like it ends up being very flat, their relationship and their breakup and Aiden as a character, just because there's no conflict there.
Exactly.
And I do see that's the thing that I was saying of, like, I understand that you need to do something, like, if you're doing a series or a movie or whatever, there needs to be a conflict and a drama and like something so that it's entertaining, right? But I think not because of that thing of, like, showing marriage story, but the couple where it turns out good, where they end up together, you would still need to see the conflict, because I think it could be that it's not necessarily the conflict that they have with each other, but the conflict that they have themselves, and the courage that it takes to face whatever your shit is that is cheating on your relationship. And that's why you're having issues in your relationship.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, there's still conflict there. There's still a lot of drama there that I think we're not seeing, and that I think would be very important to see.
I mean, I guess that is just because of the nature of the show. That particular choice. Because it's not a drama thing. It's a comedy where it's these girls and their adventures in the city. And in general, the male characters tend to be very shallow, except for the main romantic interests of each of them. Right? Because the men that you see more of, like even Skipper, for example, who is still an asshole.
Yep.
But you see
He's more of a jerk.
I mean...
And a victim.
Yes.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you see more of that because... Yeah, that's like funny or more entertaining, and that they are not the point. Right? And even... It's like this thing that I told you when you told me that you started watching it, of how somebody said to me that these four women are just actually one, and it's just the four sides of this one woman that is technically Carrie. Because each of them on their own can also seem very one-dimensional. Right? Like, you have Samantha, who's always thinking about sex, and that's all she cares about, and that's all she talks about. Or, like, in general, being ambitious, but very, like...
career-oriented.
I'd say that's more Miranda, though.
I mean, also.
Yeah.
But, like, so Samantha is more of, like, sex and career.
Yeah. Yeah.
Miranda is more career than sex.
And then Charlotte, who's just like, oh, marriage and babies.
Yeah.
And so they're very... Which I understand where it comes from, but then it gives them sort of like a flatness. And so in the most, like, I wouldn't necessarily say well-rounded, but maybe the most wholesome one is Carrie.
Yeah, like Carrie and Big
Yeah,
as male and female.
yeah, yeah. Um, so I guess if you were to rewrite that for 2023, I guess they could still have their differences, but be less of a trope of each version of the character and be more, yeah, more well-rounded. I don't know, because I think there's also a difficulty in writing these sort of four main character type shows where each of them has to have a specific identifying trait, so that you know which is which, kind of
Like in Friends.
yeah. But Friends is not as flat, I feel like.
Really?
Yeah. I
Interesting.
mean, they, of course, they have their faults and stuff. But it seems less,
Do you feel like they're more well-rounded characters?
yeah, up to a point, yeah. Right now that I'm just thinking about it, maybe it needs further
Researching.
yeah. But because you have, so for example, the girls have each different goals in life, I would say. And here, and because I know the show, so Sex and the City is like mostly about, sex and how their lavish lifestyles in New York and whatever. But it's mostly centered around their relationship with men. And then Friends isn't. Friends isn't about how these girls are living their lives finding men.
Yeah.
Or the guys even are about finding women. Like, it's not about that in the way Sex and the City is. So I feel like that's narrower, while you have Friends, which is more of a friends living. I mean, also same city, but it's like living in the city and all it entails, and like jobs and relationships and the whole friendship on its own. So yeah, I think very shallow analysis, but but yeah. So.
All right. So how do you feel about Bridgerton then?
Well, that's a whole other enchilada. Because that is okay. So I remember when it came out, I didn't know what it was. One of my friends said, "Oh, watch it. It's really good. It's really good."
She knew what she was talking about.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, "Okay, sure, fine." It was her, and one of my cousins that said, "Oh yeah, watch it. It's good. I liked it." And so I watched the show, and then I read the book, and the book, I kept telling my friends, like, "Oh no, the show did the book a massive favor." Like,
usually the other way around.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
We're
No.
very happy about this.
Yes. And the politics guys had a hot take regarding Bridgerton.
They watched it?
I know.
Oh.
The thing is, it's a maybe not very well documented hot take, because they were angry at how they had black actors playing these Regency era aristocracy characters.
Because they don't get what it is.
And yeah, exactly. I was like, you don't understand where it's coming from. But okay, fine.
Because their hot take was just like, it's not accurate.
Yeah, exactly. Which was like, it's not about being accurate.
It's
if you
not the
want
point.
accurate, watch Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, any other kind of historical drama movie.
But not Bridgerton.
Yes. So Bridgerton, I think is great.
I know.
And it doesn't. The thing is, the bar there, I feel like, is very low.
What?
In the sense that it's not. You don't in the first season. You don't know, unless you read the book, what you're getting into, right? The story is the show is very well done. It looks amazing. Visually, photography is cool. Production design is great. the story, as I said before, is so much better than the book. They added so many characters to it, and so from what I haven't read all of the books. I read the first 3, I think. I think I gave up halfway through the 4th. But there are, like, in these 4 first books, there are characters that appear along the way that they introduce from season 1 instead of in the books where they have, like, the first book and then the second book and the third and the fourth. And they're very separate. And the show, because they were, like, thinking long term, I would imagine, they decided to introduce the Featheringtons on the first one. And they make them secondary characters, so you follow their story too. And they have, like, the Marina character that doesn't appear in the books at all, but she's actually, I think she comes back in some other book as an important piece, you know? So I appreciate how what traditionally feels like those stupid romance books that you get, and that, I don't know, I remember my mom, for example, buying romance novels and reading through them, like, in a couple days, and then you're done, because they're, in general, like, very meh written.
Like Nicholas Sparks?
Not even Nicholas Sparks. Like, less quality than Nicholas Sparks.
I mean, I'm not
You know?
dissing on Nicholas Sparks. I've read a couple of his books, and they're entertaining.
I mean,
And
they're not bad.
It's fun.
They're not bad. But I'm talking, like, this book that I was just telling you at the beginning that I couldn't,
The
I could
audiobook
barely,
thing?
yeah. Like, the writing is so bad. And it's not just the story. Like, the story can be okay. But the actual sentence structure is so bad that I'm like, why? Like, in this book, this was the bad book that I was reading. It's this girl that owns a salad shop, and she moved from LA to this other California little town. And they said in the same, I mean, I wasn't reading it, but in the same, let's say, 1 minute, they said salad 5 times. And I was like, I get it. She makes salad. She loves salad. She cooks salad. That's what she does. She's a salad girl. And I was like, shut the fuck up. Please use another word. There's greens. There's veggies. There's lettuce. You know, you can change use a thesaurus, for fuck's sake. So that level of writing quality is what I mean.
I see.
Which I'm not saying the Bridgerton books are like that, but they're, you know, not great literature either. So, it's not great literature. It's an interesting story. You make it even more interesting by introducing more characters, developing each character more too, because that's another thing, that the book is very shallow. I mean, it's not very shallow. The problems that you see in them in the show are the same problems, I think, that they have in the book, but they make them bigger. They make them have more of a
depth,
dimension. Yes.
Nice.
So I appreciate it. I like, and they add the sensual stuff to it, which is part of the romance novel, just translated into screen.
Yeah.
Which is nice. So
Well, you know what? I'm remembering that episode on Friends where Joey finds that Rachel has a book that it's like erotica. And Joey's like, oh, Rachel is reading porn. And Rachel's like, no. Like, enjoying a little erotica is not, there's nothing wrong with that. And I just find it funny. I find it interesting because we were talking about how, like, me watching Sex and the City wasn't as porny as Bridgerton.
Yes. Yeah.
What is it? Is it a romance thing that gets to us?
I think so. It's kind of where my train of thought was heading when at the beginning I said the porn thing. Because I feel like if you go online and find some porn video, they're very straightforward, right? in my experience, I don't know. They're very like, oh yeah, they I don't know. They talk for 2 seconds, very bad acting, and then they start having sex right away. And here it's not. It's more about the seduction aspect. The like, you know, that very famous Bridgerton thing where they're looking at the painting and their hands are barely touching. That one is like, oh my god. Oh my god.
You can feel the electricity between them.
Exactly.
And you know what that feels like. And
Yes.
it's like, yes.
So it's more of a mind thing.
Yeah.
I guess that is the difference between the porniness of Sex and the City and Bridgerton.
Yeah, 'cause, like,
even though the subject of Sex and the City is technically sex, that does not mean that it's a sexy story.
It doesn't feel intimate.
Yeah.
Like, even though Sex and the City is about sex, and there's the whole Big and Carrie relationship, like, I don't get that vulnerability.
Yeah, it's more like a guide, you know, in how she's the writer of the column and how to navigate sex in the city. I feel, yeah, it's more like that. It's more like a manual on how to approach these circumstances rather than a romance story.
Yeah, but also I guess like with the unavailability of Big and the, I don't know, like mental obsessiveness of Carrie, or like I don't even know how to call the Carrie stuff. Like I don't feel like we get to that like really good tension of vulnerability. And in Bridgerton, like yes, there's all the beautiful stuff and the like that does a lot, you know. But I guess like the stories that they tell in Bridgerton are more about like the push and pull of these characters that like drives them towards each other,
Yeah.
kind of.
I think maybe it has something to do with the media again. Because I was listening to one of those video essays the other day on how, and I think I even saw that at some point in class. There's advances in movie making technology that have made the whole process of storytelling different through time, because originally, like at the beginning of cinema with like, you know, Georges Méliès and the Lumiere brothers and that kind of thing, it was more of a, you have a play and you record the play. So slowly it developed to a thing where now you can move the camera, so that was a huge improvement, and you can start a scene here and then move it along and then you finish at this other side, or you come close to the characters, and that also changed it. So you go from a play where you're physically very far away from people and you can't really see their faces, to now having stuff like Euphoria or I don't know, any, like, I mean, Marriage Story, yes. Or Normal People. Or I was thinking of Succession because my dad and I like it. Where you can be here, just looking at their eyes. So that changes the degree of intimacy that you can have with a character. So while before you can have stuff like Gone with the Wind, where it's very much of an external problem and the conflict is very, I don't know, distant from their personal intimate selves. That is also because you are literally technically far away from them, you know. And then now here, where you have small cameras that allow you to be this close to a person, you can actually get more intimate when writing a character, but because you can see it. You can see those like small acting moments that are very like giving away a particular emotion that you could capture in a second, like very light to me with the micro expression thing, you know. So I think that has to do with that, which is why now there's more of a intimate exploration of characters versus more of a theatrical way of seeing them more from afar, more from external conflicts.
Yeah. I can see that. I guess with Sex and the City versus Bridgerton. I don't know that. I mean, they wouldn't have the capabilities of doing that closeness with Sex and the City.
I mean, yeah, of course.
But I get it wasn't what they were going for.
Yeah. And it was also not the trend, I feel like.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, it probably was already like such a thing. All the nudity that they did, and like,
if you take the historical societal context into account, after the 60s and the sexual revolution and all of that, then having a TV show that openly, I guess that first openly talked about sex in the US, where they're so British. And,
I mean, if not the US, where? Europe?
Yeah. I mean, people in Europe are very open and whatever about it. Because, I mean, that's a whole other can of worms. Comparing sex culture in the US versus in Europe versus, like, I don't know, here, Mexico or whatever. But, so, having a show about sex in the US in the 90s that also showed a lot of nudity, I feel like that was very revolutionary at the time.
All right. Well, I don't know that we got, like, somewhere specifically.
Yeah, no.
But it was just, it's just interesting. I find it interesting. Well, I thought the whole public coming in and seeing my sex scenes and being like, oh, you're watching porn, was funny in its own.
I think it is funny. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. The whole conversation of like wanting to see more vulnerability and intimacy from media and stepping a little bit like away from the cliche troubles of a couple.
I would like to see more of that. Because even for example with, I guess, Fleabag is not about a couple ever.
But it is very, like, I do really like how they show the vulnerability of the characters.
Yes. I would like to see not just the vulnerability of the character, but like a subversion of traditional value, or like a questioning of them. Kind of like in Sex and the City. And I think about it, for example, in this last few episodes that I was watching, or just now that we were in the first season, and there's that whole thing of Big dating other women at the same time that she's dating Carrie, and she's like, no, stop it. There's another point where, is that in the movie?
What?
When Steve cheats on Miranda?
Yeah, that's the movie.
How about a conversation about that?
I mean, they do go to therapy and they make it work.
I know.
Which is why I'm like, yes.
But what I mean is, how about a show that talks about infidelity in a way that is not just, oh, you cheated on me, go away, I don't love you anymore. But
that's
more
why
about,
we're making Red Velvet.
I know. Exactly.
Haunting of Hill House.
Haven't seen that.
The show with infidelity.
What? What's the infidelity there?
One of the sisters cheats on her husband.
I don't remember.
Tormented by it. And she ends up talking to the husband. They work through it. And he's not like, how dare you.
I've seen this with you?
Yeah. It's the scary movie, the scary show.
I thought it was the scary show, but what? I don't remember the cheating stuff. Is the older sister?
Yeah.
And she talks to the husband.
Yes.
And what
Sure.
does the husband say?
Oh, they just hold hands and talk about it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Sorry. Tater tot tips.
Little section
Yes.
we're making for you.
That's great. We should have more of them. Yeah, stuff like that. I would like to
Yeah,
see.
so you mean like a show about that conflict? Yeah, it's like maybe not even a show, but a movie, like Marriage Story, but what happens so that they actually make it work.
Yeah, exactly. Or even if they don't. You know, I also kind of like a sad, quote unquote, sad story like that. Yeah,
All right, well,
that's
I guess
that's my cup of tea.
either we'll find stuff as we keep watching new stuff, or we'll just have to make our own.
Yes.
All right, do you have a rec?
Oh my god, I totally did. I had it, and then I lost it. I lost it. But I can rec Ted Lasso.
Haven't you?
I mean, if I did already, then I can rec Shrinking.
What is that?
It's a show that what's his face? Brett something Steen. I don't remember his name, but he is in Ted Lasso. He's one of the writers of Ted Lasso, and he made this other show with Jason Segel, Harrison Ford, and it's hilarious. I love it.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll steal something of yours to rec. I did not find this on my own. You showed it to me. The Fire of Love documentary.
Oh yeah, it's really cute.
It is really cute. It's on Disney Plus,
Yeah.
and I liked it.
I thought you might. It's really
It's cute. Go watch it. It's about volcanoes.
Yeah. And we'll talk to you next week.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for sharing a cup of tea with us.
To watch more episodes of A Cup of Tea, click the link on the right. If you want to watch Pockets in the Universe, go to the playlist on the left.
For example, what?
Can you hear her snoring?
No. Now I can. I wonder, wait, let me see if I can actually. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I think it's
I'm sorry, I love her so much. It's hilarious. Okay.
So
So in the kitchen talking
Yeah.
about pork.
we were talking about soup